Hi guys, my name is Allie K. Campbell.
My name is Abel.
We are the artists formerly known as Young, Dumb, and Sober. This is part 2 of our discussion about Demi Lovato going Cali sober. We've just been kind of going back and forth about our own experience in sobriety, recovery, the nuances between the different terms, basically trying to encourage the idea that abstinence isn't the only way, and not only that, it's not the superior way.
Mm-hmm.
If you like people who start shit, go ahead and subscribe to this channel. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, you can go watch that. Where we left off is, I don't know, we were getting heated, so I blacked out.
You don't have to drink to black out.
Not at all, not at all. A lot of people are saying that the problem they have with Demi Lovato, for a little context, Demi Lovato formerly was abstinent for I think like 6 or 7 years. She had a drinking problem and a cocaine problem back when she was like a teenager, I believe. Got sober, was abstinent, relapsed, turned to harder stuff, had a heroin overdose, you know, age-old story.
Don't we all?
She is currently being very open about the fact that she is still drinking, smoking weed, is moderating both of those things as of right now, not touching the other substances. She's calling that California sober. It's going all over the internet. Her docuseries is all about it. People are saying Demi Lovato going California sober and publicly announcing her Californian sobriety. What Abel said in the other video was, he had a really good definition for it. It's just another way to say harm reduction. It's an
I mean, I
alcohol.
haven't looked it up. Is that what it is?
I think that that's a very good way
Right.
to put it. If Demi would have used that term instead of California sober, I don't think she would be getting as much backlash.
Right. She chose to use a whole ass state. People are having a problem with that.
Even people who are what was California sober, which was just smoking weed and not doing anything else, are actually kind of pissed because now alcohol's in the mix. Whatever, everybody's pissed off, except us, we're fine. People are saying that this thing that she's done, especially that she's done it publicly, is perpetuating the stigma that addiction is a choice. What do you think about that?
The stigma that addiction is a choice?
Yes, and that Demi going into moderation and harm reduction is somehow perpetuating that idea.
No. The thing is, I think we can't call everything addiction and then be upset when it doesn't fit the criteria, or
Right.
when it goes against what you thought addiction should be. They want to say that she's an addict and an addict only, and now it's just like, why is she doing that? And she's promoting a different way of recovering. People are gonna have a problem with it.
It unravels things, right? Can you see the circular kind of momentum of that? When you were getting fucked up, we were calling you an addict. You were an addict. When you got sober and were our type of sober, you were a recovering addict. Now that you're using, and because we don't think that you're gonna do it successfully, we think you're an unhealed addict who's actively using. But if Demi is able to moderate for a long period of time, what they're going to say is she was never an addict in the first place.
Yes.
They're gonna turn around and make the entire circular conversation so that they can never be wrong.
And they can scrap her.
Yep.
So this whole theory on addiction, you don't have to rethink it. You can say, see, we were right all along. This is how it's supposed to be, and this is how it's always gonna be.
An addict is always an addict, is always an addict, is always an addict. Instead of saying, maybe that's not necessarily true for everyone, they're gonna say, if you can moderate, then you were never an addict in the first place. But you said I was. You convinced me I was. We were wrong then, but we're right now.
Oh my God.
How is she perpetuating the idea that addiction is a choice?
I don't think she is, but I think it's because she can moderate. For me, I have successfully, and I hate using that successfully as if I went in there competing against a bottle of like champagne. I won over that. That's the thing, it's this mentality that alcohol is somehow a rival, that I'm battling it out against alcohol. You came over for brunch a couple weeks ago. We had a bottle of champagne. You didn't have any.
Thank you for making that clear.
My roommate had a bottle of champagne when we had mimosas. I think I had like maybe did you see me just chugging alcohol?
No.
Were you even paying attention?
No.
I wasn't making a fucking spectacle out of myself.
I'll be honest, was it something that crossed my mind? Yes.
Of course. It's not what you're used to.
Yes, I've never been around Abel or with Abel when he's been under the influence of anything. It wasn't a matter of, oh my God, I'm waiting for him to like start doing keg stands off a bottle of champagne.
Right? Gonna whip out the Coke.
Yeah. It was more so like the same way that I would feel if I had never seen you in church and we went to church together for the first time. I'd be like, oh, so this is Abel in church.
I'm not having like this battle against alcohol. I made a very conscious decision when I had a drink again for the first time in years.
That's another part of it too. The conscious decision aspect of it. It wasn't like this, something happened and you went off the deep end and you were like, I gotta go back to the bottle.
It wasn't anything like that. It wasn't anything that triggered me to like do it again. It was just kind of like, I've been thinking about doing this and I want to do it. And I made the decision and I said to myself, if you do this,
are you prepared?
Are you prepared? Are you gonna feel the massive amount of guilt that you're supposed to feel when you do something like this? Slip, relapse, whatever you call it. I told myself, no, it's not necessary. And I made that decision and I did it and I was very calm about it. And I'm not saying everybody should try this. I'm just saying this is what I chose to do. There wasn't like, like the eyes didn't roll to the back of my head. Alcohol, finally.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like, wow, I threw away, X amount of sobriety time. It was just kind of like, oh, okay. And that's it. And I didn't even finish my drink. I was
so you didn't give it power.
I didn't give it power. Some people can do that and some people can't. It doesn't make you or I any different. It's just how our story unfolds.
Yeah.
That whole thing about stigma, there shouldn't be any stigma either way. Make whatever decision's best for you. As long as you don't feel any sort of shame because you haven't done anything wrong, then it's fine.
Right.
What else? Demi Lovato?
Yeah. Oh, she's a Leo.
So she's a Leo.
Leave it to a Leo to turn the recovery world on its goddamn head just with her own identity alone.
I think the fact that somebody like Demi Lovato, of course she's gonna get shit for it. She's a famous celebrity, right? What she's doing is not different from what I'm doing. It just so happens I don't have the reach that she has.
Just a little bit smaller than hers.
Just slightly.
Just tiny.
Just a $500,000. She's not doing anything groundbreaking. I decided to change the way that I was doing last May. It's gonna be a year since I started drinking again. She's not the first person to ever have done this, and she's not gonna be the last one.
But people don't speak up about it because they're ashamed.
And that's the thing.
And they're worried.
She's not doing this groundbreaking thing. The thing is, you don't hear about people like Demi Lovato or I, not that we're the same, but you don't hear about us because we're the people that are just kind of like, okay, whatever, go on with our lives.
And you hear people in meetings say, I've never seen anyone come back and tell me that it works. That's because they're living their fucking life. And I refuse to use the word sober to equal abstinent anymore. I'm saying abstinent if I mean abstinent. I'm saying sober if I mean sober. Yeah. So maybe they're abstinent. Maybe they're sober, maybe they're identifying in some other way, maybe they're using harm reduction, maybe they're California sober, but they're too busy living their f***ing life to go back into that musty ass f***ing basement to let a bunch of fundamentalists know, hey,
that's your favorite F word,
it's
isn't it?
Working for me. Who would do that?
I mean, I'm not going to.
And if you do, I will come with you.
I'm too busy living my life. I still have friends that do the whole AA thing, and I don't have an issue with it. If that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do. This whole everybody needs hard and fast labels. This is my form of recovery, and I think it's just as valid as your form of recovery, as Demi's form, as some our friends who are in AA.
Yeah, of course.
And recovery looks different for everybody. We have to be able to grow.
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm trying to say.
And the other thing is like, if Demi Lovato out in California smoking a fucking joint at her like $1 million mansion and having a little cocktail affects Bob at the Jersey City meeting, Bob's recovery is worse than Demi's. Why is your recovery that fragile? That's my other favorite F word. Why are you triggered?
What's your trauma?
What's your trauma, bruh?
If you're so like, I don't want to say butthurt, but I did. If you're so butthurt about what somebody else is doing, you're clearly not focusing on what you're doing. Where's your sobriety? Where's your recovery when you're not even focused on your own? You're so focused on somebody else's recovery.
Somebody who has no idea you even exist.
Right? It's progressive. Your disease is doing push-ups out in the parking lot. Why are you worrying about me? Shouldn't you be preparing yourself for that impending relapse? Stop looking over here. Focus on yourself.
If you're solid in your recovery, no matter what it looks like, no matter what method you use, it shouldn't affect you in any way. And that's why I call bullshit to a lot of the people who are saying like, oh, no, I'm fine with it. I'm just worried about what it's saying about all addicts in general. First of all, what do you think is gonna happen? Random strangers' opinions are gonna change about us? Demi Lovato is not gonna make policy change. Demi Lovato is not going to alter the fact that healthcare is still going to treat addiction as a disease. We're still gonna have access to rehab. It's still gonna be treated. I mean, granted, there's not free access to everyone, but her doing this I don't think that it's having this huge negative effect on the way that people view addicts.
People just want to be right about what it is that they're doing. You don't have to be right. You don't have to be wrong. You could just be doing whatever it is that you're doing.
Would you rather be right or would you rather be happy?
Exactly. People don't want to be happy. They want to be right. There's a lot of righteousness there.
It's purity.
Growing up evangelical, purity hurts. And it's not because it's a good thing. It really strips you of who, your essence. If I redefine my recovery, I don't have that pure essence of what recovery is.
Yeah.
And so if I'm, choosing harm reduction as my recovery, pure essence isn't on its, it isn't there.
Yeah.
It's lacking that. And so therefore I need to tell people that that's not pure essence. That's not, that's not a valid form.
That's where the self-righteousness comes in.
That's not a valid form of recovery, because I want my recovery to mean so much that I tie it to yours.
Is addiction a disease or is it a choice? To think clearly about this question, we need to make a sharp distinction between an activity and its results.
Oh boy.
Many activities that are not themselves diseases can cause diseases. This is the way that I've always seen addiction. I don't think addiction is a disease, but I think it can cause diseases, including mental health illnesses.
Of course.
And then sometimes you get to a point where you've collected so many diseases that it's just so much easier to be like, I'm just a drug addict. I'm just a f***ing alcoholic, because you have layers and layers and layers of PTSD, of anxiety, of bipolar, of whatever the f*** else.
It's it's
a trench coat.
It's
of symptoms.
What? A trench coat?
It's just
an umbrella term.
It's a trench coat.
There's an umbrella. There's a trench coat.
But there's stuff, and then you open it up, and you're like, this is what's underneath.
Oh, which one would you like today?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. I have all of these, but it's easier for me to just.
I love that analogy. I love analogies.
Me too.
Okay. But when's this article from?
2002.
Okay.
October 1st. This article is a Libra.
If you look at it, it's almost a Virgo. But when it comes down to it, yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, trench coat. Another thing I was thinking about was people are coming at Demi for coming out with this stuff. What's the alternative? Did you want her to stay silent and then come out when she was back to being sober the way that makes you comfortable? Why should she have to hide this part of herself? And I feel like you can speak on that because for a little while you were kind of going through that. I feel like I can't say this.
I don't know. For me, part of it was the fear that I'm gonna prove everybody right. That eventually they will be right and I will look like an idiot. When it came down to it, I was just this isn't something that people need to know. I don't need this to become everything that I am. Because in the past...
And that's taking the power from it in a different way.
Right. In the past, my recovery, I was very, very vocal about my recovery. I mean, we had the YouTube channel, we had the Instagram page, we were
running a meeting.
We were doing meetings, 12-step meetings, leading them, and it's not at the forefront of my life anymore. I mean, my recovery is so much more than just the substances that I choose to abstain from or partake in very, very rarely, because it's just not my go-to. It was a coping mechanism that I don't necessarily feel is my go-to anymore. Did you listen to her new album?
No.
That's what this is all about.
No, oh really?
She has a new album. The Dancing with the Devil.
Slaps.
It's Dancing with the Devil, The Art of Starting Over. So her one song that she has is called The Art of Starting Over.
Read me some of the lyrics though.
I just woke up from drinking out half of a cup. The universe was trying to remind me, give me a pen, I'm rewriting another ending. It didn't turn out the way that I wanted. I had the armor. I wore it March into summer.
I just got chills.
But the arrow hit me right where the heart is. I guess I'm mastering the art of starting over. Kind of the question that you were asking just now is what is she gonna do when she can't unsuck? Guess what the she's gonna do? She literally just told us in the album. She's gonna start over.
Yeah.
She's mastering the art of starting over. I was same girl, same.
That's a beautiful thing. That somebody for once is speaking to the people who are not living this very, very like packaged way of what it's supposed to look like.
Right.
Everybody else deserves to have their story and their voice heard too.
Her recovery is, there's a lot of ambiguity. There's a lot of
Which
nuance.
makes people uncomfortable.
People don't like that. People are like, no, we need to know where you stand. And she's like, why? I'm figuring it out. They're like, but the kids have been watching you. You've been doing this forever.
The kids.
And she's like, I'm not anybody's role model.
Yeah.
She has a platform and she's choosing to be human and to not be on that pedestal anymore.
Yeah. And she's choosing to be human.
People don't like it.
It's problematic to have expectations of anybody in your life, even if you trust them to take a bullet for you. It is problematic and I think unhealthy to have expectations of other people. And I might be saying that because I have trust issues. You really can't expect something of anybody. You don't know what the can happen. To have expectations of a celebrity? Are you delusional?
Our relationship was very much like that of like two sober AA people. And somehow here we are where you're not exactly the AA people.
Not exactly.
But you're sober and I'm not sober. We're okay being that way. We exist on a spectrum. As a person who's neurodivergent, you understand. I think as humans, we have to understand that anything that exists on a spectrum, which is literally everything, everything, light exists on a spectrum, sound exists on a spectrum, which are all energy. And aren't we all just energy ourselves?
Yes.
So therefore we exist on a spectrum.
We're not high right now, by the way.
How are we supposed to remove ourselves from the spectrum when we exist on it? In the spectrum, there's room for nuance. There's room for ambiguity. It's not about being right or wrong. Think about it, right and wrong.
Or changing your mind.
Are polar opposites.
Yeah.
But guess what exists in between? It's everything else.
Everything else.
It's life.
Everything else.
It's life.
You should make a YouTube channel and call it Everything Else.
Oh, I like that.
Right? It goes back to like the binary.
Africa Brooke talks about that.
Creates this binary of you're either this or you're that. And those are the only two options, and choose one. And if you fit in anywhere in between, then you're making us uncomfortable. Please choose one.
When it comes to sobriety, I'm non-binary.
Yeah. Which like live, bro. Like,
because really I'm not sober, but I'm not
drinking the way that you used to. You're not drinking in a way that's destructive. And I mean, I can say the same for myself in a way. I smoke CBD. For people who were potheads and who are now sober off of weed and they like don't smoke weed, that would be potentially like a very triggering thing for them. And that might be something that they couldn't even go near because it looks like a joint. It smells like a joint. It tastes like a joint. I mean, whatever. If you're gonna call it duck, call it a duck. It doesn't have the same effects because it's not the psychoactive property in it.
Thinking about weed got me like, ugh.
So however, I'm not on that side where it's completely pure. Like I'm not completely pure. Most of us probably fall in between, but we are not as loud as the people on either side.
I don't have anything to prove.
And you shouldn't. You shouldn't.
Yeah. My life is not about proving why I'm doing what I'm doing. Allow myself to just experience life as it is without having to feel like I need to prove something to myself or others.
So is there anything else that we should like touch on?
Did you have anything else that...
No, the rest of it is absolute garbage. So the first article that comes up, Demi Lovato revealed she's still not sober following her still not sober. Even the headline is already still not sober.
As if they're waiting for it.
Yes. It does kind of scare me now to know that she isn't sober, is the one quote they used from a friend. Fair. It's fair. It's fair. But it's also short-sighted. And lacks nuance.
Yeah.
Demi Lovato is opening up about her life in her new docuseries. I've learned that it doesn't work for me to say that I'm never going to do this again. She notes that she really struggled with her decision to come forward about her continued use of some substances. Demi goes on to say that she is done with the stuff that's going to kill me, but that she still drinks alcohol and smokes weed in moderation. Telling myself that I can never have a drink or smoke marijuana, I feel like that's setting myself up for failure because I am such a black and white thinker. Bitch, yes. Like, this really hits me because before I got into any sort of recovery, mental health recovery, addiction recovery, anything like that, I was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, which, if you know anything about it, it's an awful experience. And at the time, I definitely think I know for a fact I met the criteria for it. But one of the biggest things about borderline personality disorder, which is on a spectrum for bipolar, is extreme black or white thinking, especially for people with mental health issues, especially for people who have BPD or bipolar, and especially for people who are neurodiverse or neurodivergent. Black and white thinking is extremely harmful. She can't be that way. She needs to think in nuance. She needs to think in shades of gray because it's healthier for her. She also goes on to say, I had it drilled into my head for so many years that one drink was equivalent to a crack pipe. Demi adds that she doesn't want anyone else struggling with addiction to assume that they can make the same choice she has. Yeah, like she has to say that because and it's true.
This is her story. She doesn't want to generalize it, but unfortunately, people love to generalize.
Of course, we have to give disclaimers. I have to give disclaimers when I talk about certain topics, like, hey, I'm just making sure that you know that I'm not saying that everyone should do this. However, she goes on to also say you shouldn't be forced to get sober if you're not ready, and you shouldn't get sober for other people. You have to do it for yourself. And I think for people who got sober young, like us, tricky because were we getting sober for ourselves, or were we getting sober for our family? Were we getting sober for just that feeling of belonging that we couldn't find elsewhere? Were we getting sober to...
I know for me it was. I mean, initially getting sober, I was just so lost. I didn't know what to do.
That's what happens before you turn to fundamentalism.
Yeah.
You're absolutely lost.
You're absolutely lost, and you
need something to cling to.
Yeah.
Elton John, who has been open about his own struggles with addiction, tells the documentary crew that moderation doesn't work. Oh, God, Elton, come on. You think that he could do it for the gays and the theys, but he just doesn't.
Sorry, if you drink, you're going to drink more. If you take a pill, you're going to take another. You either do it or you don't.
That is so f***ing problematic.
There's no in between, right? It's black or white. They're only reinforcing her black and white thinking.
First of all, Elton John's celebrity star is much bigger than Demi Lovato's.
Oh, yeah.
He has way more influence over people's thinking,
especially
than
people
Demi.
who are in his age range.
Absolutely.
Or he's friends with Lady Gaga, so they're gonna gays.
Like Elton, like, wait, but Abel did it last week. I saw him, he just had one, and then he's fine. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's
like, you just proved it wrong.
Generalizing.
He can't afford to think in grays. That would quite literally deteriorate everything that he stands for, and it would crumble his sense of identity.
Yeah.
And then he's just a f***ing gay guy.
Just another gay.
People in her life who are supposed to be support systems are like actively like speaking out against her. Like, I can't imagine how lonely she feels right now. Like, there's got to be like a level of empowerment of like speaking her truth,
right,
and being vulnerable, and of course like using her music to help her get through it. But having a global superstar come out and say, no, you're wrong, you're always going to be an addict, and then her manager be like, I don't agree with what she's doing. Like, I'm not saying that it's gonna work out for her by any means, but like, let her try. Like,
right,
let her live her journey. Like, let her do what she needs to do. That's just very discouraging to me. Nobody's really like backing her.
Yeah.
Except me and you.
An all or nothing world doesn't work for her. I mean, honestly,
Preach.
me either.
Same.
Sober can be a loaded word. She looks beautiful though. Give her more than that.
I'll give her more than that.
Not what I meant. I mean, it also talks about her eating disorder.
It also talks about the fact that she suffered from sexual trauma from the age of 14.
This isn't about substances.
Yeah,
clearly.
no, not at all. Ultimately, Demi's experience, and probably your experience or something that's very similar to those, probably happens way more often than we realize. This is us closing out the conversation, because if we don't stop, like, we're just gonna keep going and going and going. It's already 5 p.m. and we're still drinking coffee.
One could say that
once we start, we can't stop.
Yeah, I think we have an issue here.
Yeah, that's it.
I hate it.
I do too. If you've made it this far, congratulations. Yeah. Subscribe to this channel. You can follow us both on social media if you want to do that. Yes. Obviously, Abel on Instagram. It's Allie K. Campbell on everything. Leave me a comment and let me know what your thoughts are on Demi Lovato's recovery, and
tell me what you think about my recovery.
So make sure to just destroy him in the comment section.
Yeah.
And if anybody's mean, I'll get you.
And I won't care. Please at me.
Please at me.
I would love to see how pressed everybody is.
Oh, you know what? It's been real.
It's been fun.
It's been real fun. Bye, guys.